All right, so it is Monday morning, and what I am going to talk about today is the process that I underwent when I was applying for residency in Paraguay. Now, for those of you who don't know, Paraguay is a landlocked country, only one of two in South America. Just if you're curious, the other one is Bolivia. So, having said that, when I did my residency in Paraguay, it was a very complicated procedure. Well, it's a complicated procedure regardless, but I was doing it from China, of all places. I'm not doing it as a Chinese citizen or anything of that nature. I'm just saying I'm trying to do the process, which is kind of U.S. centric from China, it was interesting. So let me explain. So first off, why Paraguay? Well, reason number one is that at the time I was an active participant on, this thing's not getting steady. All right, so I was an active participant. This gimbal. I'm definitely gonna get a new one. This gimbal, I'm not happy with it. So there was some groups that were designed for people who were interested in overseas living, residency, kind of the whole, like offshore living or outside of the United States. Anyway, long story short, Paraguay was the hot thing at the time because all things considered, it was actually relatively easy other than just the process itself. So I don't remember the rules as they stand now, but effectively, in order to gain Paraguay residency, so step one was that you needed to get fingerprinted, okay, like get your fingerprints done and submit the fingerprints to the FBI so that you could get your background report or background check done. Okay, so that's step one. So in order to do that, I first had to find a place that could fingerprint me in Beijing. I found a place, and then I had to make sure that I packaged it nicely so they would not get damaged in the shipment from Beijing to the United States. So I sent those to my mother, who she then sent them on to the FBI for me on my behalf. We had to wait. And let me change this here. I apologize for this. It's such a pain in the butt. Okay. So then we had to wait for the background report from the FBI to get returned to my mother. My mother then had to send the report back to Washington, D.C. to be called to receive what's called an apostille. It's a French word. I don't remember what it means, but basically to be certified effectively. She then had that returned back to her. So now we've had the fingerprints from Beijing to Des Moines, Des Moines to Washington, D.C., back to Des Moines, then back to D.C., and then back to Des Moines. That completes stage one. I then have to submit that plus the application to my Paraguay lawyer, who then gets the process started. Okay. Then I have to physically fly to Paraguay. And so my first trip, because you have to make two trips. Legally, you have to make two trips. So I flew first from Beijing to, my first stop went to Dubai. And then Dubai went to Sao Paulo, and then Sao Paulo to Paraguay. So it was a 3-step process. Now, here's a fun fact for you. Sao Paulo is the only airport that an American is allowed to fly through without having a tourist visa. Fun fact. So, I then flew to Paraguay, and I have to deposit. So, obviously, he's now got the paperwork, and I bring my fingerprints to him and all that stuff. Or I can't remember how. Maybe my mother already sent it to him. I don't remember. The details are kind of hazy. But anyway, so I had to deposit 5,000 US dollars in a local Paraguay bank. Now, even that has its issues, because Paraguay knows that certain $20 bills or even $100 bills are heavily fake. So you have to get some with like certain, or they have to exclude certain ID numbers on the bills. Anyway, so I got the bills actually when I was living in Beijing. I was able to go to a bank and get 5,000 US dollars, and I verified that none of the numbers were blacklisted, if you will. So I deposit that, and we start the paperwork. And the first visit, I want to say it was probably maybe, I know I was there at least 4 nights, almost certainly. And then, because obviously Paraguay and China are literally on the exact opposite sides of the planet, right? So while it's daytime in Paraguay, it's nighttime in Beijing. So like literally I'm having to do this process when I'm dead tired, because obviously I'm awake during the day when I'm used to being asleep. And then like vice versa, when it's night in Paraguay, I'm like wide awake. So it was interesting, to say the least. It was an interesting 4 day. I didn't really do much other than I did stay in my hotel. I used my laptop, and I was just kind of like, doing the things that I like to do. So that was trip 1. And that was done in, trying to think. I'm actually drawing a blank on the month, but I want to say it was probably late 2013, maybe like late, it could have been autumn, sometime in autumn 2013, possibly very, very, very late summer. I'm a little hazy on the details now because it's been a while. Okay, so then I returned back to Beijing. Now let me tell you what happened with that. So when I got to Sao Paulo, or when I had left the capital Paraguay and I flew back to Sao Paulo, the flight attendant, or not a flight attendant, the boarding agent woman, she asked me, because she knew I was returning back to China, she goes, "Do you have your yellow fever vaccination?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't know I needed it." Well, she goes, "Yeah, China requires, if they ask, I mean, they may not ask, but if they ask, you have to have proof of yellow fever vaccination, because I'm coming from an area that is a yellow fever hotspot, namely Paraguay and other areas in Central or in South America." So now I'm freaking out because, okay, I don't have it. What happens if they ask for it and I don't have it? So I'm doing research. Sao Paulo is like a long layover anyway. It was like 11 hours, so I had time to research. Long story short, it turns out what the issue is if China requests proof of yellow fever vaccination, they have the right, if you don't have it, they have the right to quarantine you for 7 days retroactively from the start of the flight. So in this case, it would have been roughly 2 days that I had been flying from Central or South America to Beijing, which means I would still have roughly 5 days left to be in quarantine, which means they keep you on site at the airport in some quarantine center or something, And I was nervous wreck, man. I was scared. I was like really scared. And thank God they did not ask, which allowed me to just sail right on through. Because if you recall, at the time, I did have a visa for China, so I obviously, and I had lots of entry and exit stamps for them and everything. But anyway, so thank God that didn't slow me down. But I did make sure, because now, if you recall, I have to visit Paraguay twice. So that was one time. So I made sure to get the yellow fever vaccination in it. I don't have it anymore because it's only good for 10 years. But they give you like a little yellow, it's like almost like a passport style book showing your vaccination status when it was done, And anyway, I made sure to get that before I went back for my second visit. And the second visit was, I believe, in March of 2014. I'm pretty certain it was March of 2014. And so they had approved it, but I had to go back, and I have to take to get my what they call cedula, which is like the ID. It's like an ID card. Actually, I have the card upstairs. I should have thought to bring it down so I can show it to you. But anyway, so now I have to make my second trip. Now this trip, unlike the first one, so the first one, as you recall, it went from Beijing to Dubai to Sao Paulo to Asuncion. This one went Beijing to Addis Ababa, which is in Ethiopia, which is also obviously in Africa. And that was an interesting experience. So despite Ethiopia being kind of a Christian country, actually, a lot of Muslims, definitely a lot of Muslims. They even had dedicated prayer rooms for the Muslims there, separated by gender, obviously. Anyway, so it stopped over in Addis Ababa, and then from there, then Sao Paulo, and then on to Asuncion. At that visit was where I ended up meeting up with my lawyer again, the immigration lawyer I was dealing with, and that was where I got my picture taken to get my ID cards. And that trip was actually pretty uneventful as well. Nothing really exciting going on there. Returned back to Beijing. I think it went back through Addis Ababa again, if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't really matter. But anyway, so I returned back to Beijing. So that was the conclusion of my second trip. I now had permanent residency in Paraguay. Why, again, did I choose to do this? Again, it was kind of the in thing at the time, but it's still great to have as, think of it as an insurance policy, you know what I mean? It's, for any people, there have been many people throughout history, as you're well aware, who needed to flee their homelands because of war, political strife, whatever it may have been, persecution, racial or otherwise, religious persecution. These people needed safety, and that has always been my mindset with regards to why. Why would you want another residency or citizenship? And that can be a whole different video, because this one's already getting kind of long. But I still made one more trip to Paraguay, and that would have been late October, probably late October of 2015. Maybe not even late October, more like mid-October, I guess. Because so I had returned back from China to the United States. Obviously, I had some savings, but I still had that $5,000 sitting in the Paraguay bank. I really kind of wanted to reclaim it. I probably should have gotten it on the second trip. That would have saved me a little bit of money on flights. But in any case, so I flew back down there the third time. This time it was from Des Moines. So Des Moines to, I don't even remember now. I think I went to, maybe it was Phoenix or even Dallas. Flew back down there specifically with the sole aim of getting the money out of the bank account, bringing it back, because now I'm starting my new life here again in the United States. And that trip was pretty uneventful, although it was pretty cool because I did end up meeting up with a fellow individual who had been a participant on one of the messaging boards that I had previously mentioned, why I decided to go to Paraguay in the first place. And we were making a small chat over, I think it was breakfast or something one day, and it was, long story short, we discovered that we knew each other, at least via messaging board or forum, and that was kind of cool. But I have not returned back. So it's been 10 years since I've set foot in Paraguay. But it's always there if I need it. It's always there. Although my residency card did expire, I believe. I have to go back and look. I have to get a new one. Because but I still have permanent residency. I just need to get a new card to get it it's like getting a new ID card so that it's current, in date, basically. But anyway, so that is my Paraguay story with many trips. And let me tell you, those 2 round trip flights from Beijing to Paraguay and back, just one leg is like 42 hours. So I did that 4 times. 42 times 4, basically. Because that layover in Sao Paulo was a long one. It was like 11 hours or so. But anyway, that is my Paraguay residency story. And I have more stories coming, not about Paraguay, but although I will quickly, briefly mention, and then I'll let you go. If you're asking, what is Paraguay like? Let me tell you, it is, in my opinion, a very sleepy, quiet, especially compared to the Dominican Republic, almost backwater country. The place, even on weekdays, many businesses seemingly shut down in the afternoon for a couple hours after lunch. People are going home and taking their siesta or, resting. So it's very sleepy, and on Sunday, like, everything is closed, you know what I mean? It's insane. So it's, dare I say, it's actually almost kind of a boring country. It really, truly is. However, it's got good people there. The native population are called the Guarani. They are an Indian people. They're the kind of the native inhabitants of Paraguay. And so anyway, if you ever get the chance to visit, go for it. Like I said, it's kind of a boring country. It doesn't have anything like the Carnival or in Brazil, or it doesn't have any like. It does have one of the world's largest waterfalls in the eastern part of the country, so that's something to speak for it. And it also suffered, back in the 1800s, one of the largest military defeats of any country. It attempted to simultaneously attack, like, Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay, I believe. I don't know what they were thinking, but they ended up losing like a massive amount of their male population. And so it really skewed things for a long time because they had way more females than males. And anyway, so that's my Paraguay story, and I'm glad to have shared it. We're already bordering on 20 minutes. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment if you have any questions. Please consider following me. I would be very humble if you did. And please look out for more videos coming this week, Wednesdays and Fridays. Also, I have a lot of shorts that I've posted, and check those out. And thank you, and I will see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.